Hey guys, this is Part from FTC Team 7477, and today we're going to be talking about how to use timers in FTC programming. So timers are a very useful tool and they have many different use cases that we'll be covering in this video. So let's just get straight into how to initialize a timer first. So in FTC what we're going to use is the elapsed time class. So call it elapsed time is a class, and then the variable name. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call it timer equals new elapsed time. So just like the basics, this is just going to instantiate timer as an object of the elapsed time class that we can use for its functions. Now we're going to actually start looking at some of the timer functions. So I'm going to first look at the measurement by the timer, which can be done in 3 different units: milliseconds, nanoseconds, or seconds. So it's going to be a double value, double seconds equals timer dot seconds. Double milliseconds equals timer dot seconds. Sorry, timer dot milliseconds. Double nanoseconds equals timer dot nanoseconds. And then you can have a timer running, and you can also have a function that resets it to 0. This will reset the timer to 0. So those are the main parts of the timer, and let me show you some use cases. So one use case I'm going to cover is if you want to do something after a certain point of the match. So the PS4 controllers have a rumble feature. So a lot of teams, what they do is once endgame starts, they rumble the controllers to alert the drivers, or when it's about to start. So let's say an endgame is about to start, we're going to alert the drivers. So a normal driver controlled period is 2 minutes, and the driver controlled part of that is 90 seconds. And if we want to alert them before endgame starts, we probably want to alert them maybe 5 seconds before it starts. So at 85 seconds maybe. So we can make an if statement and say if timer dot seconds is greater than or equal to 85, rumble controller. The problem with this though is that this will keep on rumbling the controller for the whole time. So what we could do is use our timer.reset to set it back to 0. It'll keep counting, but it's not going to reach 85 again before the program stops. That's one use case. Again, you can do this to many different things. You can use it for different points of the match. So the other thing I'm going to talk about is having multiple actions on your robot happening sequentially. So oftentimes when you want to do a procedure on your robot, it takes multiple steps. So for example, in power play, if you had an intake portion of the robot and you wanted to bring it in and transfer it to an outtake portion, you would want to pick the cone up, transfer it inside your robot, drop it into the next outtake, and yeah, so that takes multiple stages. So you can use a timer to do that. And one thing, you can't use sleep to do something like that because it'll shut your whole thread down and it can cause your robot to not work properly. But you can use a timer. So let's look into how we would do something like that. So I can say if gamepad1.a, let's say that I have to grab a cone and pick it up. If I have an outtake that picks a cone up and then it rotates into the robot. So the way to do that is I would first need to grab the cone, but I can't tell it to grab the cone and bring it in the same line because that won't give the servo of the claw enough time to close. So let's say I grab the cone here. I need to wait, let's say 150 milliseconds, but I can't use this line of code, which many people like to use, because it'll shut down the whole robot. So if I grab the cone, I need to initialize a timer. right? So let's reset the timer. What we're going to do here is reset the timer. And then outside this loop, we're going to check how many milliseconds have passed. And if it's greater than our threshold value, say 150, we are going to bring it in the robot. Now this will ensure that the code can close, and then you bring it in the robot. So let's look at why this might not work also. When you have the timer.milliseconds being above 50, at one point it's always going to be above 150 after a bit. So you need to only do this once. So the way we can do that is all we need to do is initialize another boolean right here. And we can really call it anything. So let's call it able to bring it in. Bring in. So that's what we're looking for. So what we can do is after this we can set bring in to true. Make sure you set it to false up here. Set it to true in this loop, and then you can look for the condition if bring in. And therefore, if you bring it into the robot and then set bring in to false, it will only do this once. Also, for simplicity's sake, I did not add the Boolean button variables that you need to for the gamepad control here, but just use the concepts in the previous videos and add that yourself. So that's it for the timer. It's a pretty simple concept to grasp, but it can be very useful. So thank you for watching.